Eric DeGatti here from One Human Performance, and what we're going to do is kick off a three-part series on deep breathing. What we're going to do is go into the significant impacts that deep breathing can have on your psychological state, your physiology, as well as your physical performance. This type of deep breathing we use for three different main things, my 3 R's. First is recovery. We'll teach this type of breathing to our athletes to recover in between plays. We'll also use it during our conditioning sessions to help recover quicker so we can get back into our next set. The second is to restore. This is a great reset at any point throughout your day to help restore not just physically but mentally to kind of recharge. The last piece is to relax, and this may be one of the more important parts, and this is where we'll tell the story of the shirt. Okay, so what's with the shirt and what does that mean? So here's the backstory. Athlete comes in and she's completely freaked out. She texts me the night before and says she can't lift her arm, her shoulder's killing her, and she has to fly out the next day to a major national tryout. What are we going to do? Now, I had just trained her a day or two before, and there was nothing in that session that led me to believe that anything should be wrong with her shoulder. She came on in, and when we looked through all her different movement assessments, there was no reason that she showed there why her shoulder should be hurting. So I asked her about what had happened since the last session. She started to tell me about how she had exams and how she was stressed out and she fell asleep on the couch and she wasn't getting much sleep. And right about there, I paused and I said, do me a favor, stop for 1 second. And what we're going to do is I put her in a position and ask her to do nothing but breathe deeply. Taught her what that means, asked her to do that, and put a timer on her. 10 minutes later, I asked her to stand back up. And what happens? Her shoulder mobility improves significantly. Her arm doesn't hurt anymore. She's able to throw with no pain whatsoever. So what happened? Well, what happened was she was so overdriven in her sympathetic nervous system, which we'll get to in a minute, that she had kind of gotten herself completely freaked out. And I said, here's what you need to do. You need to CTFO. She says, what does that mean? I said, here's what you need to do. Now, earmuffs, kids, you need to chill the fuck out. Here's what's happening, is you are so worked up that your brain has overridden everything else below it. And so by doing nothing but that deep breathing, she kind of reset that autonomic nervous system to get out of that stressful state and just kind of let everything go. So this is a huge component of why we do this deep breathing in terms of working on it with the relaxation piece. Now, I can tell you personally, this is not something I always share openly, but I don't hide it either. As a guy who's Irish and Italian from North Jersey, it is on edge out here, and I grew up not in the hood, but I grew up in a very tough blue-collar neighborhood. And so for me to deal with my own anger and frustration and temper, I need to chill the fuck out sometimes. And so this type of breathing has been extremely impactful for me to keep an even keel throughout the day, and I'll use this at least once, if not twice a day. That will extremely help my not only physiological state, but mental state. To appreciate the importance of breathing, we have to understand that in many cultures, the same word for breath is the same word for spirit or life force. So if you hear words like chi or prana, there are certain cultures where breathing is so essential that it finds its way into practices like yoga as being spiritual in nature. And as I always tell my clients, you can go for a month without food, you can go for days without water, but you can only go a couple minutes without air. Breathing is one of our most essential things, and so that we don't do the same type of breathing for every activity, and we're going to break down different types of breathing for different activities in a later video. We're going to focus on now is our deep belly breathing or diaphragmatic breathing that's going to help us recover, restore, and relax.